It's quite cold, raining. Air raid alert sirens blare in the air. NASA probes are falling from the skies. The International Summit of Cities and Regions is underway in Kyiv. Just another day in Ukraine. Good afternoon, this is Henry Keane on UATV channel explaining how things in easy terms for the whole free world directly from Ukraine. More than 90 representatives from 18 countries confirmed their presence. More than 100 representatives from 36 states will join the online format. Following the results of the summit, it is planned to sign a sub-summary declaration and agree on partnership on the municipal level. Yesterday, delegations visited the regions of Ukraine suffered the most in the aftermath of the Russian occupation. According to the Prime Minister Denis Shmyhal, the international intermunicipal partnership has now reached unprecedented proportions. More than 300 territorial communities of Ukraine have concluded 1,500 international partnership agreements. Almost 60 countries are helping our cities, towns and villages to survive and recover from deadly enemy attacks. Denis Shmyhal thanked the partners for their support. According to World Bank estimates, over the course of the year, as a result of a full-scale war, Ukraine suffered about $290 billion in losses.
Today, Ukraine is fighting for European values. They were born and strengthened in communities when the air of European cities made people free, when self-governance was part of everyday life. Modern Europe and modern America, the entire civilized world, grew from this root. Now the societies are uniting again to prevent Russian barbarism from taking revenge. Denis Shmyhal, Prime Minister of Ukraine.
Ukraine always was, and is now, seeking to consolidate international support, improve the interaction between war-affected communities and partners, and lay the foundation for long-term cooperation in the future. This, and country-after-war recovery, are two main goals of this current summit. NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg arrived in the Ukrainian capital today. On an unannounced visit, Stoltenberg paid tribute to fallen Ukrainian soldiers on St. Michael's Square in central Kyiv. The visit is Stoltenberg's first since Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine on February 24, 2022. Already tomorrow, another summit of countries and Ramstein format will take place, and such a visit is a good omen for us in Ukraine because now politicians can once again discuss and agree on their positions before an important defense meeting. Whether Stoltenberg's visit brings us closer to NATO or otherwise NATO closer to Ukraine remains unclear at the moment, but it is a good omen because it brings the world closer to peace. I repeat, peace, not appeasement.
We expect steps forward, and very specific, when we likely can understand for us, for ourselves, for our state, for our society that Ukraine will be in NATO. We're talking about it with General Secretary. We need something more than the format of our relationship in which we are today. We highly appreciate that allied countries support us with weapons, but we want to understand when Ukraine will be in NATO.
Then, of course, also recognize that President Zelensky will raise the issue of membership of security guarantees, and this will be high on the agenda of the meeting and also in the lead-up and the preparations for the Vilnius summit. Ukraine's future is in the Euro-Atlantic family. Ukraine's future is in NATO. All allies agree on that.
I'm sure all alliance members agree on that. But there are discrepancies in when this will happen. However, regardless of when it will actually happen, before the end of the war or after it, the main thing is that the Russian occupiers must leave the Ukrainian lands. This is one of the 10 steps of the Ukrainian plan to end the war, which was proposed by Vladimir Zelensky during the G20 meeting. Zelensky's formula was supported by the United States, the European Union and Turkey. However, there are voices heard from time to time like this.
There will be no ground troops in Ukraine. No German or European soldier will set foot on Ukrainian soil, and period. Marie-Agnes Strack-Zimmermann, a member of the Bundestag.
Well, period is not a full stop in the first place, ma'am. However, we never needed any European soldiers to set foot on Ukrainian soil. What we will do is, with all due respect, we will turn our soil into European. So then, Marie-Agnes Strack-Zimmermann can safely set her foot on the soil of European Ukraine. The war kills, sometimes slowly, It leaves scars, wounds, it twists minds. Its brutality stays with those affected by it forever. These people can and should be treated. A special medical attention is required. So far, wounded fighters and heroes to recover as soon as possible, a special program was launched with the participation of the professionals of the World Health Organization. The International Classification of Functioning is an initiative of the First Lady of Ukraine, Olena Zelenska.
I want to thank everyone that finally this procession of the ICF in Ukraine has started. I would like to thank all our medical professionals. I have gratitude and respect for your profession. If you remember the COVID lockdowns and then the war, it is clear that you have been working under extreme strain for years and hold the most important front on your shoulders. You save lives and keep our people healthy. You know very well that now many military personnel are even returning to the front with bionic and mechanized prostheses. There are many civilians now recovering in the rear, both children and adults who have been traumatized by war. At the same time, the disabilities have not disappeared. The war adds up to a very difficult experience.
Olena Zelenska visited a hospital in Bila Tserkva and attended the presentation of an online course, which, in the coming month, will train more than 2,000 specialists for 244 institutions, which will allow for more effective care for people with severe diagnoses. They are located throughout Ukraine. For example, the largest number of such institutions in the Dnipropetrovsk region than in Kyiv. The territory of Ukraine is more or less covered equally. The international classification of functioning is supported by Switzerland and the European Union. People with different diagnoses can get help. In some cases, rehabilitation begins directly in the intensive care unit.
In Ukraine, we have launched a change in approaches to rehabilitation as well as to the system of determining disability in general. And now our task is to remove medical and social expert commissions and use innovative WHO methods, which have resulted in the international classification of functioning, to start assessing a person's loss of function to make an individual rehabilitation plan.
It is expected that after taking an online course, rehabilitation therapists will be able to provide almost 3 million sessions of medical care per year. According to the Minister of Health, there used to be a shortage of rehabilitation specialists, but they promised that this situation would change after salaries were raised. But this is not the first such Ukrainian initiative. Last week, for example, the First Lady, together with Minister of Health of Ukraine and Minister of Solidarity and Health of France, participated in the opening of the world-class National Medical Center for Ukrainians with complex war injuries, superhumans. Free prosthetics, rehabilitation, post-traumatic stress disorder PTSD, treatment and reconstructive surgery will be provided here. Superhumans uses a comprehensive approach to treatment and strives to change the perception of Ukrainians who have suffered complex injuries and lost limbs and psychological approach to them. Prostheses will be produced and assembled here in-house. The prosthetics laboratory was created with the participation of the leading German company Ottobock. The rehabilitation department has a large swimming pool and multifunctional facilities for physical therapy.
Superhumans is not only about modern prosthetics. This is an initiative to restore opportunities in the broader sense, physical and psychological. It is about recovery. Because when one person gets stronger, we all get stronger. And now we have a literal, not metaphorical place of strength where people and therefore the country are being recovered. Olena Zelenska, First Lady of Ukraine.
As you can see, being the First Lady means being there for those who need it the most in the first place. We can see that Olena Zelenska is doing all right. As per The Guardian, so far this century there have been 3 major public compromises of US intelligence material. The first, the WikiLeaks series, initiated by Chelsea Manning, revealing the mayhem at the heart of the Iraq and Afghanistan wars. Edward Snowden's vast cache uncovered the US state's campaign of unlawful civilians against its own people. Over the past week, we have seen yet another collection of secret documents ruffling the feathers of US intelligence. Given the nature of the documents available so far, most of which seem to be daily updates and analysis, there seems to be little operational damaging intelligence. It seems to The Guardian that of these three sets of leaks, the most recent is in itself the least politically damaging. So, in general, this leak is like an open secret. Intelligence spies over anyone, whether ally or enemy? Sure thing. Well, that is what the intelligence is for. Again, citing The Guardian, the leak represents another own goal by an intelligence bureaucracy, with a pathologically confused attitude to information management. On one hand, a rational approach to access to secret information is defining confidential, secret, or top secret levels of secrecy. On the other hand, this should be accompanied by a need-to-know approach. In other words, does a person or an institution with access really need to know this to function effectively? One might be given to wonder why a junior reservist airman in Cape Cod, Massachusetts really needed to know about Ukrainian plans to strike Russia or the political machinations of the Israeli intelligence services. Well, if he did, might be there is a reason not to punish the guy, but to raise in ranks. Let him take the place of some four-star general in the Pentagon, for example. But if seriously, as Bill Burns, the director of the CIA, puts it, there is a serious problem of overclassification. In easy terms, it can be said that these Discord leaks are rather more damaging to Russia than to any Western country, considering the extent of information revealing about Russia's internal confusion, with the security services arguing with the defense ministry over proper death counts, for instance. The United States remains a trustworthy ally of Ukraine, fully committed to assisting Ukraine and bringing our victory closer through concrete actions and military assistance to the Ukrainian armed forces. Despite any attempts to cast doubts on Ukraine's ability to win on the battlefield, our allies and partners remain unwavering in their support. They have faith in Ukraine's ability to succeed on the battlefield. No leaks or publications will have any effect on Ukraine's support from its allies, including the United States. Our partners support us because they have a strong and trusting relationship with Ukraine and share our strategic goal of victory over Russian aggression. To ensure Ukraine's success on the battlefield, three immediate steps should be taken. Accelerate the delivery of previously alleged weapons and ammunition. Ensure additional long-term supplies and begin training of Ukrainian pilots to fly Western-type combat aircraft. And one more thing to say. Perhaps we need to put a little more emphasis to the matter, the intelligence itself, and less on experts and analysts of all types. Take a look back on 23rd February 2022. How many experts were sure that there would be no war? All of them. Then after the war started, all of them were united on the fact that Ukraine would not hold it for more than 3 days. So today, 421 days later, let us not take this expertise too serious, please. And now, my beloved 1 minute of righteous evil. How to deal with a problem in a Russian way. To pretend there is no problem. You think this is stupid, but it is not. Just the scale of stupidity should be large enough, like a state large enough, like a paradigm. How to make all Ukraine and Kyiv-related losses of Russia, including those reputational, economical, political, military, and you name it, to disappear. Pretend there is no Ukraine. As was written in some Russian media, that is, we are faced with the task of making it as Ukraine simply does not exist. It is much worse when the textbook simply does not talk about some country. A person grows up without a knowledge base about some country, and then it is much easier for him to believe what they tell him about it from TV. Russia is deleting the words Ukraine and Kyiv from history books and from elsewhere. I think this is a good sign, personally. I think what they need to do next is start to arrest children in schools who would not be able to tune up to that new Orwell scale of absurdity. If anyone during the class will say Kyiv or Ukraine, the Russian Special Educational Forces should arrest him immediately and put him or her into Putin's children mental penitentiary institution. where he would be subjected to watching Russia Today 24/7 for the rest of the year. Because this is exactly how Russia Today is shaping Russia's tomorrow. During the hide-and-seek play, the best way to hide, according to the Kremlin, is to close your eyes. It was Henry Kyiv on UATV bringing the hard truth in easy terms for the whole free world directly from Ukraine. Stay safe and please tune for more tomorrow.